Good morning, everyone. We'll start in about 1 minute. Lovely to see you all. And thank you to Karma, Tom, and Kristen for helping with the waiting room and letting people in. Good morning, everyone. I am the Reverend Dr. Leonisa Artizone, and welcome to worship at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of the Catskills. Welcome guests and visitors and friends to our ongoing virtual Sunday services. Whomever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are welcome here. Unitarian Universalism is a liberal religious faith that carries no creed, welcomes all seekers into our fold. We are guided by 7 principles and 6 sources. And if you're curious to learn more, I encourage you to visit uua.org for all kinds of fun reading about the history and practices of Unitarian Universalism. At UU Catskills, we affirm that Black Lives Matter. We are a welcoming congregation for members of the LGBTQ community. We are a congregational affiliate of the Ulster Immigrant Defense Network, and we are active voices in the effort to address climate change. Thank you for joining us this morning for online worship. You will see that everyone is muted, and we'll stay muted till the end of the service, just to limit the noise and the stress of bandwidth. There will be times where we're going to sing. You all know this by now. We're becoming old pros. So I encourage you to sing out, sing loud, follow along. If you hopefully read our newsletter, the August newsletter, on the second page of my letter, I gave some pointers inspired by a conversation with the worship committee on ways you can try and make your space feel more sacred, so that Sunday service doesn't feel like I'm sitting in my pajamas on the couch going to church feeling. If you wanted to make it feel a little different, I put some pointers in the newsletter, and of course you can send me an email and I can help you think about how to create an altar or a sacred space that might help you enter into this time here when we are together. I'm going to ask folks to limit the chat usage because it can be a little distracting, because we will have time at the end of service for some breakout rooms for coffee hour chat. All the music today is used with permission, and we have some things happening. August, I'm taking some time off. We're, putting a few things that have been happening for the past 5 months or taking a little break. So I encourage you to check out uucatskills.org so you can stay up on what's happening. And as I like to remind you, please read your newsletter and the weekly update and the weekend update. It has all the information you need to stay connected. But if you miss any of that, uucatskills.org is the way to go. If you're new or visiting us today and you want to get added to our mailing list, please put your email address in the chat box, and either I or Mary Evans will capture that and we will get you in the know, as it were. So I also want to point out, as you all have been incredibly patient, you know that there will probably be technological glitches along the way. I will not call attention to them. Instead, I will ask you that if there is a pause and we assume something must be going wrong, that you take that as a moment for some meditation and reflection. That might make us all feel a little calmer in the process. And now I invite us all into this time away from time. And we will begin with Bill playing us our prelude. Thank you, Bill. Okay. I changed the order a little this morning. Can everyone still hear okay. And I'm going to start us with a chalice lighting from one of our own, from the European American transcendentalist, Ralph Waldo Emerson. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. If you want to enter where you're lighting into the chat, and I will put this here so we can see it. And as we continue, our opening words come from the poet Mary Oliver, entitled The Pond. I chose it because it's August and I didn't know when that happened, but it's August. August of another summer, and once again I am drinking the sun, and the lilies again are spread across the water. I know now what they want is to touch each other. I have not been here for many years, during which time I kept living my life. Like the heron who can only croak, who wishes he could sing. I wish I could sing. A little thanks from every throat would be appropriate. This is how it has been, and this is how it is. All my life, I have been able to feel happiness, except whatever was not happiness, which I also remember. Each of us wears a shadow, but just now it is summer again, and I am watching the lilies bow to each other, then slide on the wind and the tug of desire, close, close to one another. Soon now, I'll turn and start for home. And who knows, maybe I'll be singing. I invite everyone to join me in our unison affirmation, which is printed in the order of service we send out, but I'm going to share the screen again so that you can read it along with me. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations and inspired to bring our gifts of love to all living beings. May we know once again that we are not isolated, but connected in wonder and joy, to mystery and miracle, in the universe, in this community, and in each other. Please join me for an inspiring hymn recorded by Catherine and Peter, Catherine Katabiani and Peter Criswell, if you clarify. I'm gonna mute myself.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. And it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind.
I think that's a great one to start with. It always makes me feel connected. And so our Not for Children Only directly connects to my homily later. And I was inspired to tell a story. And so I am no illustrator, as we know. So I used PowerPoint to create a little living storybook. And I'm going to share that with you. And
I think, sir, that maybe we should listen to voices we've not heard from before. What? Why? There's a way things have always been done, and it will stay that way. It works. Well, you see, in Unitarian Universalism, we've ignored people, or worse, we've made them feel like they don't belong. It doesn't work for everyone. How could that be? We are a liberal faith that uses reason. We are logical, and we include everyone.
Reason is great and all that, but there are other ways of knowing, and
many people of color or indigenous people or trans people and young people, they see and understand the world differently, and their voices matter. Surely they can fit into our Unitarian Universalism, even if they see things differently.
But that's the thing. They've told us they don't feel accepted, so they don't feel they fit into your Unitarian Universalism. So why can't we think about a way to really make it our Unitarian Universalism? But our Unitarian Universalism is just fine. And my conscience tells me that changing it is not right.
I'm glad you brought up conscience. The fifth principle tells us that we have the right of conscience and the use of the democratic, yes, the right of conscience. That's what I'm talking about. You interrupted me. As I was saying, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. That's the whole thing. Well, we are democratic. I know the fifth principle, geez. My conscience tells me that letting some voices have more say than others undermines the democratic process. Not sure I understand. How is including voices that have been marginalized giving them more say? Isn't that just making the field even? Isn't that truly democratic? Isn't that what your conscience is telling you to do? Are you going to question if I care about other people? I'm a UU. Of course I do. And my conscience says that giving certain people more power in this faith isn't right. We're becoming too PC. Okay, pal. PC was a term coined by people deliberately trying to undermine the multicultural movement. So PC is really code for don't mess with the things that have worked for me as a member of the powerful group that has run the show for years. Get it? And don't hide behind Unitarian Universalism being inclusive, because we have not always been. We think it is great that now the UUA is honoring and including more diverse voices into our leadership, our meetings, our clergy, and our membership. That's what my conscience tells me is right. But I'm saying that every voice deserves a vote, and now some voices are allowed to be louder than others, and well, that what? That doesn't seem fair or democratic because we are trying to finally be equitable? People who have been ignored are now asking for justice. Why is that wrong? Kind of sounds like when someone says all lives matter when I say Black lives matter. That's not what I'm saying. We'll never see eye to eye. The Lions have always believed in the use of conscience and the democratic process, but these changes in Unitarian Universalism are just going too far. I'm sorry you feel that way. We're sorry you feel that way. The tides are turning, and including all voices will only make Unitarian Universalism stronger. I hope your conscience will help you see that someday. The right of conscience is not a right to exclude people. It is an opportunity to use our North Star to right the wrongs of the past and do our best to create a more inclusive, equitable, and democratic Unitarian Universalism. Thank you for indulging my attempt at creativity there. We will circle back to that story when we get to the homily. Now, I'd like to invite everyone to think about that story and some of the ideas that came out of it as we shift into our time for contemplation, compassion, and prayer. I'm going to read a short passage from this book, Our 7 Principles in Story and Verse, a collection for children and adults. The author is a retired UU minister, Kenneth Collier. And I'd like to use some of his words as a guide for our meditation this morning. He says, conscience is not the voice of conventional morality. It is the voice that pulls us deeper and more directly into the worth of all. If you speak the mythic language of theism, it is the voice of the immanent God speaking within your soul. If you speak the mythic language of humanism, it is the voice of the profound human spirit as it lives within you. Conscience is a manifestation of what Taoists call Day, the movement of the unnameable Tao that gives each of us our individual strength and power. It is the voice of what Plato referred to as arete, the wisdom or virtue of your soul that makes you the unique and precious person you are. It is the upwelling of that which the Buddhists call the Buddha nature that permits every person and even every sentient being to achieve enlightenment. To the Hindu, it is the image of that special step in Shiva's dance that brings you into existence and allows you to be. It is that which impels us to the good, that which ennobles and elevates and heals. It is that which must be stifled and ignored when we do injury and harm and bring brokenness to life. Conscience is central in every tradition. Unitarian Universalists think of it as the manifestation of our inherent worth and dignity. How can there be a democratic spirit without this sense of conscience? So our meditation today invites you to examine this language of conscience and this idea of conscience. When have you lived into it with integrity? When have you not? Have you done harm via a phone call, email, or careless word because you forgot to check in with your conscience first? Have you helped or lifted someone up because you remembered your conscience? Let's take a couple of minutes in silence to meditate upon this. In the spirit of compassion, I invite you to lay down the burden of your shortcomings, making a promise to yourself that you will do better next time. I invite you to smile and maybe switch to gallery view and do a bow to all who are gathered here as a reminder of why we come together as Unitarian Universalists every Sunday to refill our spiritual cup. I invite you now, even if you're the only person that might hear it, to state the name of someone you'd like to surround with prayer and loving kindness. Please join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life, source of love, forgiveness, compassion, and awe, be with us every day as we continue on this troubling path where we feel isolated, yet we know we are together. Remind us to find our North Star, our Buddha nature, the power of day, whatever calls to us, our human spirit, the reminder of worth and dignity, to let our conscience, our deep understanding that we are all connected, be our guides every day in life. We ask this with love. Amen. I have a wonderful piece of music to share, and I hope there's no glitch this time because it's so fabulous that I want you all to be able to experience it. It was made for GA, and it's the GA choir and some soloists. And I'm going to put it up with our offering slide because, as I've said, even though I haven't been around, when I'm here, I feel I want to just remind you all that our offering and how we're doing it now is kind of blowing my mind of your generosity. I think it's just so wonderful that the work we do in the community is made possible because of your generosity. And you're giving so wonderfully, and I know the organizations who are the recipient of it are incredibly grateful for what we offer them. So we have numerous ways to give, online and through phone and with checks in the mail, good old fashioned checks in the mail. So I'm going to put up a slide and let's okay, so hopefully you could see all the ways to give. Hope the music cooperates too.
There will be better days. 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 There will be better days.
Yeah, so I can't get through that without crying. I think I've listened to 20 times and it still has the same effect. And I just love that idea. I am already under, let the waves wash over me. So no matter what we're feeling, we're not alone. Many of us feel it. And there will be better days. I thank you for your generosity this morning, for our offering and all we give to this community. So I want to talk about this fifth principle. I really like the fifth principle. I like the core themes, the right of conscience and the use of democratic process. I like that it operates on a personal, interpersonal, and communal, or even global level, which Thich Nhat Hanh writes about in Being Peace, and those various levels are a focus of any kind of peace education and activist work. I created that story earlier to open up a discussion about the tricky use or application of the fifth principle that has been happening in Unitarian Universalism for the past year or so. I'm quite glad that the conflict and the gossiping has not really hit us at UU Catskills, but I wanted to share a bit about it and why I think we have to really examine the fifth principle so that we are interpreting and applying it in ways that bring us forward into a new, better, more inclusive Unitarian Universalism. I will be brief. Last year, in 2019, at GA, a minister in Washington State decided to distribute a pamphlet he wrote wherein he criticized many of the changes happening in Unitarian Universalism. I read only about a third of the pamphlet, but it was enough to see that, one, he was clearly uncomfortable with the UUA deciding to improve their hiring practices and include more people with marginalized identities in leadership positions. Two, he had issues with multicultural or inclusive of gender and sexuality, maybe a holistic multiculturalism efforts in workshops that were being led by UU and UU related organizations. And he was troubled by the direction Unitarian Universalism in general seemed to be taking. Troubled by the direction of Unitarian Universalism. The direction towards including voices that have been ignored, the direction of living truly into the belief in universalism, the direction of evening out the playing field. He was and is not alone in his beliefs. A number of ministers and lay people took to the internet to espouse opinions that sounded decidedly not universalist to me and the majority of my colleagues. I found these responses enraging, but I took a breath or six and realized that they were responding to changes with possibly nothing more than fear. They are afraid that the Unitarian Universalism that made them comfortable, gave them authority and power, might be disappearing. They are afraid that by giving voice to those who they deemed less than their voices would be overpowered, drowned out, deemed less than. And to be fair, I hope, this was most likely a deep-seated implicit bias that they still have not come to see. I hope. It was, for me, one of those classic fear responses. When you have bought the line that there's not enough pie for everyone, that malarkey, right? That it's limited. They have even invoked the fifth principle to make the case that their conscience is calling them to speak these truths. But if we call ourselves universalists, and yes, we've shifted away from that in the God salvific sense, but we still have it in our name. So as universalists, we welcome and accept and seek the liberation of everyone. And our fifth principle, which invokes our right of conscience, should never be used to maintain the status quo. We are lucky enough to be part of a religion that embraces change, that knows it is a dynamic rather than static entity. And thus, if someone, anyone, tells us that this religion, this denomination, this congregation has harmed them, has made them feel invisible, has caused them trauma, then we must do better. It is a shame that many European, white, cis, hetero, male UUs are threatened by the idea that Black, Indigenous, people of color, queer, trans, and young people entering Unitarian Universalism and UU leadership is threatened by that, sorry. It makes me sad that rather than seeing that as our faith evolving and correcting the sins of our past, they see it as a threat to their roles and stability. But then again, the entire world is based on a system that gives preferential treatment to those who are European, white, cis, hetero, male, wealthy, Christian, etc., etc. So that stuff gets internalized, but it is no excuse. And we could sometimes get confused by what we mean in Unitarian Universalism by the democratic process. In the United States, we seemingly, or used to, have a democracy, a style of government that is supposed to be ruled by the people and for the people. The fact that it is actively being undermined right now is for another Sunday. And historically, the majority has dictated that rule. Even in congregations, we rely on that notion of majority rule. So the voices that are the most involved tend to make most of the decisions so long as they have additional support. This can be confusing when we are actively trying to shift into a place that is truly egalitarian, that is questioning majority rule by actively putting what we might call minority voices front and center. In the same book I took our meditation passage from, the author, Kenneth Collier, says this about the fifth principle. The idea of self-rule is based on a religious idea. People should rule themselves because no one is privileged. That no one is privileged follows from something that we UUs take as a given, namely that every person contains inherent worth and dignity. If each person is equally worthy, then no one is more worthy than others. Because no one is privileged, it follows that each person in the community is responsible for the well-being of every other person, and all are equally responsible. So we are all equally responsible. Good. I like that. But you can also see where people who believe that Unitarian Universalism is actually already non-privileged would have a problem with changing Unitarian Universalism, right? If we believe what Collier writes, then there is no reason to boost the voices of our marginalized siblings. But the reality that they have told us is that they are not, in fact, treated the same. That the first principle doesn't show up evenly and equitably for all. So we have to correct the course. And if that evokes fear or anger among people, then so be it. Because just like in our story time illustration, there comes a time when certain lives need to be lifted up to right the ship. And that time is certainly now. We as liberal religious people who like to think that when we use our conscience, we are always doing, saying, supporting the right thing, need to realize that that is not always the case. We can get trapped by you jargon and you haughtiness, as well as our own fear of change or even our own implicit biases. But growth and evolution require us to use our conscience to make sure that our congregations and our entire denomination are truly valuing every voice, not just the loudest, the whitest, the wealthiest, the longest member, the oldest. Sometimes democracy's needle needs to be recalibrated. Shame on us if we don't see that. Shame on us if we hide behind our right of conscience to do otherwise. As universalists, we should know better. And I hope we do know better. And I think a song that will help us think about it is Love Will Guide Us. And I believe it's Catherine on the keys for this one. Pull it up.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Love will guide us. Our closing words this morning come from Reverend Darcy Rook. There is too much hardship in this world to not find joy every day. There is too much injustice in the world to not right the balance every day. There is too much pain in this world to not heal every day. Each of us ministers to a weary world. Let us go forth now and do that which calls us to make this world more loving, more compassionate, and more filled with the grace of divine presence every day. May it be so. And I invite you to join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share and and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. Take a moment to scroll through gallery view, acknowledge one another. It's wonderful to see you. I'm going to put us in breakout rooms. I'm going to unmute when we're about to go into them. We'll have about 15 or so minutes in breakout rooms. I'm going to have to move the young ones into their own room. I'm very happy to see you. I hope you are having a lovely summer. I will be away for the latter part of summer. So if you want to talk to me, you got about a week to get it in because then I'm going to go rest. And do know that I think of you every day. I have a prayer list, and by now I think you've all made it to the list. And I think of you. I miss you. I love you. I hope you're staying connected. I encourage you to go try something new, right? Like that I did 2 things this week that just made me feel like $1 million because I took a leap of faith and it was really enlivening. So try something new, talk to someone new, make a new friend. I don't know, something like that. Okay. Yes, let's go into breakout room so we can chat. All right. Huh. I'm going to ask everybody to unmute before we go in breakout rooms. There used to be an unmute all option.
Go in peace.
Go in peace. You said it, Austin.
Oh, you said Austin.
Hi, everybody.
Get a little note from me that says, ask to unmute. I'm especially going to focus on the phone people because the rest of you can probably.
Am I unmuted?
Yep.
Slowly unmuting people.
Everybody on mute.
Unmute. Some you have to. Jane, I'm going to make the groups and then I'm going to move the children into your room. Okay. So, oh, wait, that's not going to work, is it? I'm
We
gonna do,
unmuted?
bear with me. Who are the kids? Who's here? Erin Hilgart, Erin Ryder, and Austin?
No.
Yes, and me.
We don't know. They're gonna have to.
Child. Same old.
She wants to do 20 people. I think.
Hello.
Oh.
I'm gonna get a cord, see if we can plug this thing.
I'm
Okay.
writing cards today.
Hello. What's going on? So impatient.
And the other woman.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Good. For whatever reason, I couldn't get my regularly in, so I ended up phoning.
Know which group we're in. We'll know in a second.
Well, I want to see everybody.
Rooms. I'm going to shut them down at 11:28, 29, maybe 30. You have to just accept your room. Hello, mother-in-law. I just saw the corner of your mom, but I think she might be bailing now. I assigned her everybody. Ethel, do you see a prompt to click on a blue box so you can be unmuted and or to go into a room? Because otherwise you could stay in here with Mary Alice if you want to do that. I'm going to unmute you. And Mary Alice, I'm asking to unmute. You should just say, I can't hear you, Mary Alice. I'm clicking ask to, on the lower left corner. There you go. Ethel, can someone help you? Do you see it in the lower corner, how to go to your breakout room? Mary Alice, if you want to just stay in this room and unmute, you could chat with Ethel. It's not letting you unmute. On the lower, see on the lower left corner, do you see your microphone icon? There might be a red line through it. If you just click it, it'll get rid of the red line. Ethel, do you see that as well? Wish I could show you my screen. Ooh, my stole is making me very warm today. I know. I'm trying to change the setting to see if I can, let me see if I can do it another way. Yeah, they could stay with me. That's fine. Yeah, we could stay in chat. I'm just trying to unmute them. I can't. Yeah. Well, I want to go into one room and visit.